everyone, welcome. I'm Deb Nazinski and I have with me here Jason Flick, CEO and co-founder of UITV. He's asked me to give him a hand with his talk and I couldn't be happier to do so.
I'm very excited as well. Thank you, Deb, for helping out. As some of you may know, Deb and I are married and she's been involved in the businesses since the inception.
That's right. Never a dull day with a startup, as you can probably imagine, but that's why we're here, isn't it? We're going to cover all sorts of ground from, well, pretty much this very recent exit to AT&T Warner Media, all the way back to his first job. And we're going to carefully pry from him some of the circumstances and experiences that he's gone through in starting up a business.
Just the stuff that makes you look good though, right?
Well, we'll see. We'll see, shall we?
Hold on a sec. Are these ferns?
I think they might be called Dracaenas, to be clear, but
good. Is that a type of fern? Because then I'm concerned.
If it helps you to perform a better interview, then
no,
yes.
I'm worried. If they're ferns, I'm worried.
We're between two ferns.
I'm worried.
Let's move on. Every student looking toward graduation hopes to land that perfect job. And sometimes it's not such a perfect scenario. It can be a struggle or it can be a bit of work. How was that for you? Was there a struggle? What was that transition like for you, if you can recall?
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town, came to the big city of Ottawa to get my degree in computer science at Carleton. And I got my first job. I did full-time first year at university, but then realized I'm gonna have to get a job to do this and wanted to get experience at the same time. So my favorite interview and the one that I got was at Transport Canada. They had just acquired the software that they were using. I think the guy died. It was developed by one guy. And so I'm in this interview and they slide this foot of code printed out on paper. They're quite proud of it. They slid it across the table to me and said, can you do this, right? And I picked the first few pages up. I'm like, yeah, it's Visual Basic. And luckily I'd had a computer when I was 10 and got into Visual Basic very early on. I'm like, yeah, I can do it this. And I said, yeah, fine with it. And they kind of said, whoa, hold on a second. You didn't notice all the mistakes and stuff in there. Like, look at all these bugs, And I said, no, those are spelling mistakes. They're just in the comment fields. And they go, oh, okay, you got the job. And so that gave me 3 years of some really good on-job experience. But I think, having had that hobby, in this case, it was actually directly applicable, but I think that was key. And actually, even at UI, that's to have something, a hobby or a passion, I think that's a key thing for us. Even when we're looking to hire people, we want to see that. And so, have a hobby, be open about it. If it's actually linked to your first job, that's always a bonus too.
So a couple of things in there I want to pull out. So you were programming when you were what age?
I think to even use a computer when they first came out, you had to program it, just booted up into a command prompt. So probably at age like 10, 11, I was trying to program. I don't think I was very good at it. But.
And then you talked about having hobbies. Well, hobbies help. So having the hobby, but within UITV, you encouraged that notion?
Yeah, we had, as you know, we would run these fairs where people could sell their goods, the things they're building on their side, the marketplace. But also, we have people that are like huge into astronomy and have massive telescopes. That's great. If you have a passion, that's great. If you have a passion in video games, that's even applicable to our day job. But we really encouraged people to have hobbies, things they're passionate about with work and outside. I just think it's important to be a well-rounded individual.
Even to the extent that it involved side business. We didn't really even discourage that, which is unusual. So your first real job, as you're saying, is Transport Canada, and you had that while you were still at Carleton. So you've talked about that a fair bit. I remember you talking about it when we first met even. After you graduated, what happened?
Yeah, so my first job after graduation, I was pretty fortunate. I was able to get a VP job at a startup in e-commerce.
So just a sec, a VP job just after you just after you graduated. That's pretty impressive.
Thanks. It was a big stretch for me for sure. But again, I think that's, you need to take these risks on and try. And so we were an e-commerce company and we were doing credit card transactions way before they were commonplace. This is in 95 or something. And so there was no procedures, no policies. The banks were really struggling with how do they embrace this. And so we had built this solution for credit card transactions online, and I think Sports Expert was the first customer, and we were working with Royal Bank, and we saw one of our competitors come out, it was like CIBC. And so we went and tested their software. It was like, wow, okay, someone else has done this too. And man, we did a transaction, and then I looked up in the URL, and you could see all the variables right in the URL. One of them was transaction ID. Oh, so mine was on my success screen. I changed the transaction ID. It decremented it one. Poof, there's the whole previous person's transaction, credit card number, and everything. We're like, wow. So again, to my point, the lesson I got out of that is that, when you're doing this bleeding edge technology, it's black magic to a lot of these people. So it's really, I think, on us as technologists to really be careful with that and make sure we do what's right too.
Are you saying with great technology comes great responsibility? Is that what you're?
Is that a saying? I don't think so. I guess yes, it is.
I think it comes from with great power comes great responsibility. Is that a Marvel saying? Is that where that came?
No.
Did Yoda say it? Somebody said it.
No.
Okay. So I don't have to ask you whether you watch Silicon Valley or not, because I know we both do.
We binged it, yeah.
We went through it like wildfire. So people ask us all the time, is it true to life? Is that really what it's like? And in so many ways, it kind of is.
Scary sometimes, yeah. How close,
but in a lot of ways, it's not. So people are so curious about entrepreneurialism and entrepreneurs, and they have all kinds of ideas. Are unpredictable. They're really risk happy. I remember when you first started talking about starting a business, and even some of our friends, they sort of giggle, hee hee, and they sort of envisioned that you were going to have an ice cream stand on the side of the road or something. I don't know what they were thinking, but they really didn't have an understanding of what it meant to be an entrepreneur. And now everyone sort of has an idea, but it's a concept, and it's still sort of the TV concept. What does it mean to you, like from your perspective, to be an entrepreneur?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think early days, this 20 years ago when I started Flick Software, out of the tech bubble burst, the post-September 11th bubble burst. And yeah, I think people thought the word entrepreneurship just meant like unemployed, which the first couple of years were. But I had a bunch of friends that, oh yeah, he calls himself an entrepreneur, he's really just unemployed. Which wasn't untrue either, but it did eventually get off the ground. And actually a lot of people ask me, how did you get it off the ground, really? And so, of course, had the benefit of already being unemployed, so that made that leap a little bit easier. Built a website that said we wanted to build mobile apps. This is when Wi-Fi was still, rare, and things were called PDAs instead of smartphones. So it was a pretty niche market at the time. And I put up a website, and we got a call from Department of Defense, DOD. And they wanted us to build this surveillance technology, which we can't talk about, but it was cool. And we were all kind of like in the COVID world. We were just at home doing all this deal, doing the requirements over the phone. And then just before they were about to sign, they came and said, oh, we want to come up and see you. We're like, oh shit. So we had to scramble, get office space, furniture, and they flew down, and we went through the final requirements, and we did sign the deal. And I think, to me, the lesson in that one was you do need to kind of puff up your chest sometimes and push yourself beyond what you are. Nobody wants to be your first client, but I still think you have to be honest to yourself. Can you do what you're saying you can do, right? And we did deliver on that. We did close it. It was a 6-figure deal. It was huge for us and really got my my first business off the ground.
Right. So that risk reward, risk scenario, that how do you measure how much, too little, having boundaries? What is it? How do you measure that? Yeah,
I think entrepreneurs have a different view of risk, because I, growing up, never thought of myself as a risk taker. And then, of course, met lots of other people and taught good, frank conversations like, okay, I guess I am a bit of a risk taker. But to me, it's all measured risk. But I think that's one of the things. You have to take some chances, right? No risk, no reward. And so we took some chances for sure early on to get them off the ground. It usually does require a bit of a Hail Mary or whatever metaphor you want to use to get your business off the ground.
Yes, it does. So people were and are everything at UITB. We put a lot of energy into, finding and hiring the right people. And certainly we were in the right place to do so. Kanata North, Ottawa, we were right in the center of this
23,000 tech workers in Canada alone.
This spectacular triangulation of, we had the industry, we had private sector, we had government, we had academics like crazy
The internet
access.
was created here back in 2001, right?
The support
Billions.
mechanisms, we got KRP, KNBA, a lot of acronyms. We had the Tourist Ottawa, we have CARE, Invest Ottawa. So many organizations that were just so needing to support and to make this
Critical,
successful.
I think, for the success. Yeah.
And we've enjoyed and appreciated it so much and benefited, and so has so many other organizations. LSpark, I mean, they're innumerable, really. Even those government grants, everything. It's not just about the people, or is it? Is it about hiring the best? Is it about finding and hiring the best?
For sure, people, you have to have the right people, and we put a lot of effort, as you know, into making it a great place to work and where people wanted to come work. But even if you have all the brightest people, I think the piece that a lot of entrepreneurs and companies, specifically bigger ones, but I find even some of the smaller ones miss is this empowerment piece, right? Where you as the entrepreneur need to pull back and trust and empower your staff, right? And that was, I think, one of the big differences at UI. People felt if they had an opinion, they were heard. If they had an idea, they could do it. Actually, a simple example that I think kind of is an example of what happens and how things get done at UI. So I was in the kitchen, and a pretty introverted developer came up to me. We had just set up, our ops team had managed to cobble together some ping pong tables with some pretty innovative little tables and some clip-on pieces. And he's like, "Oh, this is great." He says, "I love ping pong." I said, "Oh, that's good." He says, "We should have a tournament." And I said, "Yeah, we should actually. I'll do the prizes. You set the tournament up." And that was it. 2 weeks later, he ran a complete tournament with prizes. Everyone had a blast, and I think that's the kind of key piece to our culture I think we had.
Yeah, I agree. And so many different examples of that. If you gathered up all of what I think was most special about our culture, it was every tiny little example of that put together. And there were so many.
Yeah.
So UI has worked with some of the biggest brands out there in the world. Something so many companies around here would love to duplicate, and maybe some have. What do we got there? We've got Sky, we've got Turner, we've got Crunchyroll, we've got NFL,
NBA, NFL, yeah. TNT, TBS,
National Geographic,
Cartoon Network, Show Me,
Nickelodeon. Oh yeah, Chorus Entertainment. I mean, so many.
Crunchyroll,
Peloton.
Crunchyroll, yeah.
What do you credit to pulling that kind of thing off?
Right. Yeah, I think one of the big lessons, and I think even in the end, the biggest differentiator that UI had that really helped us get that technology to market was this design team. We used to go and do demos. Hey, look, here's our JavaScript app, and look at the balls bouncing at like 1 frame a second. And then we'd say, here, look at these balls bouncing at 20 frames a second. Imagine what you could do. And of course, we quickly found out our customers could not imagine. So we had to build our own world-class design team to sit right alongside, shoulder to shoulder with our world-class rocket science engineering team. And that ended up being a huge differentiator for us. We used it for the product, for our customers used it. Some of the best apps out there are actually designed by our team. We use them internally for marketing. We use them internally for events. Our t-shirts, we have some of the coolest t-shirts, and they helped us design them. So I think having that art and science mix was a huge differentiator for us, and really is what allowed us to go, instead of just being this amazing technology in Ottawa that blows everyone away when they see it, to something that actually shipped and we were able to sell. And I think it was critical and not easy, right? This balance of art and science that I know you helped us with a lot too, Deb, was critical throughout the whole life cycle of the business.
Yeah, I feel like it had so much to do with everything and how we operated it as well, how we structured the functional space, the environment, the built environment, because if we didn't map all of the teams around how design was implemented, and they were embedded within all those teams as well.
You can't build beautiful and fun things in an environment that's drabby and not
we
fun, right?
We also evangelize that across the city too. Like if you can't have what, that product can't be what it needs to be if it weren't for the UI and the experience, the user experience too. It's so important. So a little bit ago, we mentioned that UI had worked with some of the biggest brands in the world. I'm going to say a bunch of them again. Fox, NBA, Peloton, National Geographic, Nickelodeon, Twitch, Disney, Weather Network. Did I say that one? Crunchyroll. Did we say that one?
It's a good one for the kids, yeah.
I feel like there's other kids ones that we've missed out completely on the earlier days.
Cartoon Network, of course, yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a good one. And of course, we missed the chorus, the Show Me.
Treehouse was really cool.
What's the one from the very
scrolling environment?
Very early one before Show Me, before chorus with the device? Kobo.
Oh yeah.
That's actually an important one. So of course, you know, we have to talk about AT&T. So huge customer. What happened there?
Yeah, we probably had 18 active projects with them across all their sub brands. Turner, and then Warner Media, and then Warner Brothers, and then AT&T, and then DirecTV, all part of the AT&T umbrella. And it was interesting the last couple of years, a big change in the market, right? So we were helping all these small brands, these side plays they were doing. Hey, let's try streaming. Netflix looks like it's cute and doing something interesting. And then now, of course, in the last 3 or 4 years, Netflix isn't cute anymore. It's the giant that's eating their breakfast. And so Comcast, who was an investor, AT&T, who was an investor, both on our board, along with Disney, had these huge streaming services that needed to go, instead of, hey, let's do something cute and get 1 million subscribers, they had to go to tens of millions, hundreds of millions, generate billions in revenue. And that put us in a situation where we were really that differentiator they needed, right?
So
Netflix,
this was the $1 billion industry that was paying.
Out of nowhere, they needed to generate billions in revenue, and Netflix had thousands of engineers and was a true technology company, and they had proven you can create great content even as a technology company. So now all these media companies need to become technology companies, and that was the crux of the reasoning. And we said, yeah, we were interested in this. Obviously, with so many projects with them, we already knew we loved who they were. And then, the other part is it helped our vision. We were there to own the glass, right? We wanted to get on every device, on every screen, everywhere, in every country. And the HBO product's going to let us do that even faster. So the team that's there is super excited about getting that and even going further with it.
So when I try to explain to people, because they always ask me, give me your pitch, or what is it that you guys do? And I remember in the early days, it was a lot harder for me to explain, and I still explain it differently. I say it's, sometimes I say it's an agnostic platform whereby a brand could put all of their content or any content they want to acquire onto one platform, whereby any device, no matter how many they have, it'll always be seamless, same user interface, and a consumer like me could expect to have the same experience no matter what, in a continuous fashion. And that still holds true, correct?
Yeah, sure.
And it was sort of this holy grail for the longest time where people didn't believe it was even possible.
They believed you had to do native development. You want the best app on iOS, download the iOS tool. You want the best experience on Android, on Roku, on LG, on Samsung, you have to use the native tools. Well, we showed that not using the native tools, you can do even a better result, and it can be consistent. And yeah, that was hard to believe, right? It went against the rational thinking of the tools custom for each platform are the best tools. It's not the case.
And I should mention something about the founders. I mean, it's pretty amazing that the fellows that started it all.
I remember the closing when we had the C-level meeting, which was a key piece to kind of close the deal. It was Stuart, Don, Andrew, myself, the earliest guy. I mean, Stuart's my co-founder. He was brought his IP and was number one, but Don and Andrew came in very quickly afterwards, and it was still the four of us on a call with a C-level at Warner Media to really close the deal. So that was exciting, and they're still there and engaged, moving that company ahead. So
they stayed on for the acquisition, and they're there for the people that transitioned over. Even though you may not be there, they were there, and that's pretty unusual too, is it not?
It is often a business is heavily tied to the founder. I think one of the things, again, that we did really well is empower and get everyone rolling. So the company operates fine without me. I think that's one of the things that's a tough one, but that an entrepreneur, even an executive, you really need to be proud that a company can run without you, which is, scary too, because then, well, maybe you'll let me go. But the beauty is, it's really the goal you should be going after.
So we're at the end of, let's call it the formal program. What is it that, if you could say something to your younger self, if you knew now or if you knew then what you know now, what would you go back and say to your younger self if you could?
It's okay to be a geek.
Other than that, yeah, that would probably be helpful for your younger self. You probably would appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, I don't think we thought it was cool to be a geek, but in the end,
it wasn't then.
It wasn't. I would say the thing that I've certainly embarked on years ago and wish I started years sooner is about learning about myself. Who you are as an individual. We do a lot of research and work and just automatically kind of, I did this and this is the response I got from people. But really looking internally and what makes you happy, what do you love doing, what are your strengths, what are the things that when you do, you get satisfaction out of it, and are you introverted, extroverted, are you detail oriented, Do you like a dynamic environment? Do you like to be consistent? And I think research that, understand yourself. Don't just go with, oh, all my friends think this is cool, so I'm doing it right. And then if you really have the confidence, share it with your employers and your friends and coworkers, because then they can really capitalize on it, right? I think that's really important, and it's a journey that I'm on, and I think it's a life journey for all of us.
And could you add a little bit around mentoring and what kind of, I guess, feedback and that sort of thing you would look to gain from other people?
It's a good point. I mean, so I'm part of, 15 years now, part of a peer mentoring through CEOs. But I think everybody, if you're in HR or marketing, you should find your tribe, and you should have regular check-ins with them and help each other just kind of raise the bar up, right? I think one of the big things that's been happening in Kanata, which wasn't happening 10, 20 years ago, we all kind of thought we were competing for the same people, the same money, the same markets. We're not. It's not a zero-sum game. You should all be helping each other, and I see it all the time.
Yeah, it's symbiotic, isn't it? That's really impressive.
It is. Like Shopify, wow, they raised a ton of venture capital, but that allowed our C round probably wouldn't have happened without them putting Ottawa back on the map again, right? So yeah, it's critical.
That's true.
So get out there, whatever your specialty is, go out and find those groups, and just keep leveling yourselves up.
And dare I say, come on out and see us in Kanata.
Yeah, for sure.
We're not going anywhere. We'll be around.
We love Kanata, yeah.
Come see us. But we really want to thank you for joining us. And
yeah, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much. No, that was great. Thank you for helping, Deb, and stepping in.
No parting words of wisdom.
It's always tough to do these virtually when you can't see everybody and connect. But hopefully at some point we can.
True that. Thanks very much. We appreciate it.
Bye. Bye.